Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us today. I am so excited to see all of your faces. I'm also excited to have this conversation with you. We're going to be talking about one of the most timeless and impactful ways to nurture client relationships, providing home valuations. So whether you call them real estate reviews or market insights, it is an incredible way to stay connected, to build trust, and to nurture future opportunities. And you know how we do it here at Choice. We are all about providing tangible examples while also recognizing that everyone has their own unique way of running their business. So today we're going to talk with three of our agents, Ashley Denny, Adam O'Brien, and Libby Azzarello. I actually said them out of order. We're going to jump around a little bit, but we're going to take little pieces from everyone. I've talked with each of them separately, and it's so fun because although they have overlaps in some of the things that they do, it's also super unique. So our plan for today is for you to find something that resonates and take it and implement it in your own business. I also think it's incredibly timely that we are having this conversation in January. I don't know about you guys, but momentum is everything in my business. And so this is a great way to restart those client connections. If it's been a while since you've reached out to people, everyone likes to know how much equity they have. And so no matter how long it's been since you've done this, or if you've never done it, or if you already have kind of a direct mail campaign that you're really consistent with, no matter what the case may be, this is a great touch point. So we're going to dive in today. My plan is for this to be a somewhat of a micro training. I'm going to give each agent about 10 minutes to kind of talk about what they've done, what their current process is, how they get it out to people, how they design it, how that's evolved over time. We're all about transparency. And so we are human. We by no means are going to say, hey, I've done this every single year in the same exact way. A lot of this you will find has been trial and error. And I love that we're going to learn from other people's trial and errors. So again, we can kind of take it and implement it in our own business. So I'm going to kind of jump from agent to agent. I'm going to give you guys 10 minutes. I'll do the little hand raise icon as like a 1-minute warning because we're keeping it concise. If you that are viewing it have any questions, I'll just ask that you kind of pop it in the chat. I'm going to try to allow people to screen share and things of that sort. So hopefully whatever your question is will be answered at some point. If we have time at the end, then we'll get to those as well. But thank you guys for joining us. Ashley, I would love to start with you if that is possible. And actually, now that I say that, let me
It
make
is.
sure I've got our screen sharing settings to allow it. All right, you should be good to go. Thanks for doing this.
Awesome. Hey, everybody. So I'm going to go ahead and apologize in advance. My little one is home with the flu, and she is 4. So if any of you guys have little ones, she is in that needy stage. So Kate is well versed on what I do. So worst case scenario, if I do have to jump off, then I'll let Kate take it over. But mine should be fairly quick, probably not even the full 10 minutes. One thing I do is every closing, I will go ahead and put that as in my Google Calendar to set it as a reminder for every single year. And so every month at the beginning of the month, I'll sit down and I'll look through my Google Calendar and see what home anniversaries I have coming up. And let's see, I'll screen share. Mine's fairly simple. I just have a letter. It's actually a template that I got from Brian years ago, and I've really just changed the design of it, but the concept of it is all the same. So let me see, share with you guys. Hold on, I'm not very good at this. All right, well, let's see.
You want me to share it?
Oh, yeah, that would be great. Thank you, Kate. Couldn't find it in my perfect. Thank you. Okay, so every year, like I said, at the beginning of each month, I'll sit down and just go through and see who has their home anniversary coming up. Then I will go to all of these sites, homes.com, Zillow, realtor.com, and just pull the generated values that they provide us. Obviously, we know they're not accurate. So in this letter that I send to them, I obviously state these are computer generated algorithms that provide an estimate value based on public data. while these numbers aren't a true market analysis, it's always interesting to see what the matrix, quote unquote, thinks your home is worth. If you ever decide to sell, we'd conduct a comprehensive market analysis to determine an accurate sales price. So, it's just a touch point, honestly, with my folks, a way to stay in contact with them, a way to tell them happy anniversary, a way, I think this is a client that I sent, it was his 4th home anniversary. So it's not just like on the 1-year anniversary of their home. And it's also kind of fun because we can see how the value in their homes has grown over the years. So that's pretty much what I do for the home anniversary. I do one other thing as well. At the beginning of each year, I will send out a letter. We were just talking about, or I was just talking about this with Kate, but with the copy of their CD, basically I'll, at the end of each closing, I'll just take their CD and put it in an envelope with a letter, basically stating, you're going to need this for your tax prep, provide this to your accountant and address it, put an envelope, stamp it, and then mail it out on January 1st every single year. So that's another touch point that I do. That's semi-anniversary, but also different.
And I think you said this on the front end, but you physically mail these, correct?
I do. Yeah. I just
That was
feel
my
like people
question.
enjoy getting snail mail versus, something fun in the mail versus an email all the time.
Perfect. And one thing real quick, since ours are so similar, I kind of took Ashley's as a jumping off point. I know we've got 2 other agents that we'll be sharing here soon, but just as a point of reference, I too do that same thing. I go to the other sites. I also put in their address. I mainly do that for my own sake, so that when I go to mail it and like package the envelopes themselves, I can look at the back of the envelope and look at the address on the letter and just be like, okay, I'm sending it to the right person, because that'd be kind of embarrassing, right? If we go through that whole process and send them the wrong house. But what I also do though, is I will go into either KV Core into my own profile for myself, or we'll have up RPR and I will change the address that is listed as like my listing valuation, and I will change it to their address. And that way it will send me as that profile an email with that current home's valuation. And depending on how I feel that it falls, whether I feel like it's a little more in line with its true market value, my goal is to show them that these are probably not as accurate as you would hope. And so that hopefully even my estimate, which is also automated, I want to make sure they know that, but even that is a little more accurate. And so if I feel like Bold Trails estimate is a little bit off, then I'll use RPRs and kind of play with it. And regardless, right, we'll keep talking about this, but the whole purpose of this isn't to correct, it is to start a conversation. So we definitely want it in the ballpark, but just know, like, our goal here isn't to spend a ton of time. It's just to make sure that we're staying in front of them and to keep that conversation going. So thank you, Ashley. Nancy, I know you had a question at one point. I would love, I said on the front end, if y'all will just pop any questions in the chat right now, and then we'll circle back to them at the end. That would be great. Thanks, y'all. Thank you, Ashley. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Libby, if you don't mind, I would love to hear from you.
Hey guys. Much like Ashley, I have a 3-week-old at home. So if you hear a whistle pig in the background, that is nothing to be alarmed by. Okay. So I have something kind of similar to what they do, a little bit more heavy lifting, which is why I have not kept up with this, to be totally honest. You'll see this is, I think, from 2020. So Kate mentioned, if we have or haven't kept up with it, or if we would do anything different. So I think if I reduced what I put in here, it might be a little bit more manageable. But seeing it again has been really fun and kind of reignited my excitement for it. So I put this in the mail, and I really like what Ashley said about just doing it right after they close. I think that's a great idea. I tend to like bucket things together, whether it's birthday cards or these things, when I have a slow time, and I just like print them all out, put them in their envelopes, at least address the envelopes, even if I can't get the statistics right then. Something that I think is always fun to see is actually information about your house, because if it's been a while, you've probably forgotten. And I also wanted it to be something that they could keep handy. So if we forgot when we closed or how many square feet do we have or whatever, they might come back to something that I did instead of going to a third party site, especially what you paid. And I put them on top of each other so that they could see how what they paid ranks against like the median sale price and everything right now. So most of these statistics are just duplicated down here for their subdivision. I think this is also like a jazzy number that people like to see, the total homes that were sold. Um, just kind of general talking points, just like Kate said, things that they would want to take to the neighborhood cocktail party and share with their friends. Something that I added that I don't know if I do it again. It was really great in 2020 because everybody's mortgage rate, it was a great talking point because they were going lower. I don't know right now, my brain is fried, so I'm not sure if I would try this again, but it was also a good chance to get in front of their lender. So I reached out to their lender, asked what their rate was, if I didn't have their closing disclosure or whatever handy. So I've actually gotten a lot of leads from lenders based on this. And like we kind of feed back and forth, like, oh, it's so and so's home anniversary. To Ashley's point, I alternated on when I sent these. One year I sent them all at the beginning of the year when I didn't have quite as many closings. And then other times I would just set a reminder and do them monthly. I actually outsourced this for a while. I would pull the data and then I had a little intern and she put everything in and then mailed it out. And then the last thing that's how old it is. Sorry, guys, look away. So the last thing that I did is I put a little blurb in here and I kept this the same for all of them that I sent out. I just changed their information. So the sources that I used for this mostly was InfoSparks and actually just Paragon. I would pull up their subdivision and get most of this information. I used the CMA summary report. Sorry, I'm like speeding through this, but if you have questions about where I get them, that's can help with. And then InfoSparks. Did y'all see that my page changed? Okay. InfoSparks is the other one that I used a lot. And then this is my favorite report ever from the TAR report. I literally reference this like every day. And that is the house price change metrics in Wake County. So this is from the TAR report. I log in and I use this page with appreciation this one, sorry, by zip code. I use this all the time. It's a great talking point for these types of reports. It's pretty general, but it's also, I find that they're really like jazzy numbers, like 9% is huge. So I think that kind of is a great thing for people to see. And then I use that when I talk to buyers and sellers as well. But yeah, definitely tried to make it kind of on brand, but I do think I would reduce the amount of information that I had to put in to make it more sustainable.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And great shout out about the TAR report. At Choice, we have a subscription to that and they send it every month. They would love for us to read it. They give away like a $50 Amazon gift card each month. If you read it, it is a ton of data. So it does kind of take a moment to go through all of it, but really and truly like no better way to get that level of detail in the information that's truly talking points with people, right? It's not just specific to each person. Everyone wants to know what's appreciating, and by zip code, gosh, that's just so valuable. I also love that you put in there the square footage. We recently reached our 1 year anniversary with our home, and so we had an inspector come out to do an inspection before our warranty walk, and we got asked the question of what is our home square footage, and just those little things. And that's not the only vendor I've had ask for pricing information. They want to know your square footage. And it sounds so silly to be like, oh, 1 second, let me look it up on Zillow, but it is something that's so easy to forget. So I love all of these touch points. Thanks for sharing, Libby.
You're
Appreciate it.
welcome.
Alice, I will make sure that you get an answer to your question. It ends up in my inbox. I'm asking about how to get the TAR report, but we'll make sure that you get that as well. All right, Adam, what you got for us today? Libby, thanks for sharing.
So a lot like Libby, and I know that she got gung-ho at the same time I did after we finished Ninja installation, and we were like, let's go, right? But my packet, I'll be honest, it was very complicated at first. So then I would always push it to the side because I didn't want to do it. So I've learned if these take you more than about 5 or 10 minutes per household, you're never going to do it. So I got very scaled down version. And I also learned that if you don't schedule time to do it on your calendar, you're never going to do it either. So those were the two biggest changes I made. I used to include TAR reports, and I used to include an actual, even an estimated value. And then I was like, why am I doing all this? The goal of this is to get them to reach out for more information, right? Or to start a conversation, at least from my standpoint. It's easy for them to click on all of those sites if they're curious about what that's worth. I'm wanting to start that conversation. So in mine, I literally include their old MLS sheet just because it's interesting for them to look at, especially if they're only looking at once a year, and then they get to see the picture of their house that when it was yellow and now it's green, and all the information on there. The other thing that I always include is the Wake County data card. Every once in a while you find that we find a mistake on there where like somehow the square footage changed, or somehow the tax value changed, or that they questioned it and it hasn't been resolved. And then I include a 12-month activity of active, pending, closed for their neighborhood. If they are not in a neighborhood, I usually do, whatever's going to be a good amount of data. Sometimes it's a mile, sometimes it's 2 miles around their property, because everybody wants to know what the house down the street sold for or what happened in the neighborhood. And that's what I include in mine. So it's not really an actual value. It's more of like a nosy neighbor, what's going on type thing. I also used to include a letter. I still do in some situations, and I'll explain that in a second. I actually just stick a Post-it note on the front of these few pieces of paper and said, hey, thought you might want to see this. I'll follow up with you soon. And I put that on there because it doesn't do any good to send these out if you're not going to follow up on it. So I send those out. I track mine like on their home anniversary month for people who I've done business with. So then I know that I have to call them anyway that month to talk about the anniversary of their house. So this actual conversation about value is probably like 2 minutes of that conversation. See if they have any questions. If they want a full CMA, then I'll do a full CMA and we'll dig into that value. Because that takes time to do, and then this is just another touch point to start a conversation. I do another form of this though that has a letter. You can use this for farming. I use it a lot in condo buildings. Especially if you're running like a 6x6 or an 8x8 campaign, you're providing a letter. Hey, this is what's happened in your area or in your building on 12 months. If you'd like to talk about this, let's talk about this further. Just use it as another touch point as well. I've also found that the more you do, the more response you get, of course. So most of the time I try to crank out about 10 a week to randomly people in neighborhoods that I've sold houses in, just to help establish some brand awareness. If nothing else, it's just a tool of like to get them to reach back out to you.
Yeah. And to your point, it's all about scheduling it. And so I love that I actually did all of them at the start of this month, and it was quite a daunting task. But I love the idea of what you guys said. It seems like almost all of you spread it across various months according to people's home anniversaries. And so if you just make it as a plan of like on every Monday, I'm doing this or I'm sending 10 each week, then it becomes a rhythm that then becomes a part of your business. So I love all of that. And also to your point of not just scheduling it, but like Libby said, being open to outsourcing it, right? I talk about this in so many of our sessions, but I think as business owners, we get so intimidated by the idea of hiring out help. We really and truly think that we've got to find the perfect person who is then going to want some repetitive aspect to the business, and that we then need to commit to providing them with some repeated project, when in reality, there are so many people out there. Just hop on a Facebook group and say like, hey, I'm going to want some help with this. Is anyone open to it? You would be so shocked to see who you can find at an affordable rate that can help you get this done. If you're looking for a book, I will preach it from the mountaintops forever, is 10x is easier than 2x. It's all about leveraging your time and doing repeatable things and hiring out help and knowing what your time is worth. And so, if it means hiring someone for a few $100s max to get something like this out, well, one deal way more than pays for that amount of time. And it's also maybe not worth your time to do it, but it is at the same time. So just considering all of that, don't be afraid to set the barrier to entry lower for yourself. Just know that you are worth that. I also loved what you mentioned about adding the old MLS sheet. I think it's always so fun, exactly like you said, to see what it used to look like. We're in our homes every day. It's kind of like when you're going through some new like workout routine, right? You don't necessarily notice the changes right in front of you because you're the one always looking in the mirror. Same thing goes with our home, right? Like we're making these small improvements over time. And sure, we might have some bigger projects that we look back on, but it's so fun to see like how the overall picture has changed. So that alone is just such a great conversation starter, and what an easy thing to do just to print those out. So thank you guys so much for sharing all of that. And last thing I wanted to touch on is the personalization, like the little handwritten note, you adding the sticky note, keeping it casual. People want to know that they aren't just some number in a sea. When I did this, I made sure to write a little note to each person. Sometimes it was like, I hope your year is filled with abundance. Others, it's, congratulations on your new addition. I tried to look on Facebook and kind of see what's going on in people's lives. They just want to know that you are truly a human, just like they are, and have that recognized. So thank you to all three of you for sharing. I appreciate it. You guys sped through things. So I'm going to go through our chat real quick and answer some of these questions, and then I'm going to open it up for you guys to ask them as well. JC said that they did this in postcard format. JC, if you're still on here, you're not on my top screen, so I'm not sure, but if you are, I have a quick question, which is, I'm curious how you did that in terms of minimums for postcards, like doing each one kind of unique to each person. Was that a challenge at all? And how do you get that printed if you are in a position where you can answer?
Hey, I'm here. Yeah, we do this in a postcard format, and we do a large postcard. It's like 7.3 by 5 something. Just the bigger one, but you can still just use a postcard stamp for it. But on the front, basically, it's all pretty much templated as far as the 3 spots that you fill in, like the Redfin estimate, your Zestimate, and then, you can either do, for the last one that I did my own comps for it, and I did like our estimate and then put that number in. But there's just like 3 specific spots for where you can put 3 valuations in and kind of where they came from. And, it says happy home anniversary, cheers to another year. So we also do it every single year. It's not just like the first year. So this goes out to, a lot of people. And then the backside, just leave a little bit of space for like a handwritten note. And I always say, go on their Facebook before you write this note, find something new that's happened in their life so you can really touch on like a personal aspect to this. I just love the idea of like handwriting these numbers in and handwriting a note. That's just like, kind of goes hand in hand with our brand also, and just our tone of voice and our relationship. So we always go on that, and we just kind of look for something new or exciting that's kind of happened in their life and kind of touch on that. And then there's just a little section that's kind of carved out where we obviously address it to them. So that's what we do. And we do that annually also for our clients.
What a great idea. And thank you for sharing. So that answers my question in terms of printing then. So you just have the template printed in essence with like Zestimate, et cetera, and then you physically come in and handwrite it. So you're not trying to like meet some minimum per You actually are having them all printed the
correct.
same.
Yep. So I just order a whole bunch for the year, and then everyone on the team gets a stack of them. And we have a board on Monday where we have all of our home anniversaries tracked, by month, so we can go down the column, in the right order and send everything out. So we go on every Monday and we look at our home anniversary board and see what cards need to be written, and we just try to get them done every Monday and then in the mail. And obviously there's weeks where we don't have them, but it's good to kind of stay on track somehow, whether it's through a spreadsheet or a notebook or however you can do it, your calendar, whatever it looks like. But we try to go on once a week and get those written. And honestly, it takes 10 minutes. Like truly, it's really fast.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing. Appreciate it. I'm going to get to Nancy's
You're
question
welcome.
in the chat, which was, do you reach out if the value has gone down? And I've got two answers from our guest speakers. I'll read those in just a second. I will say personally, I skip them. I had one who closed last year, and when I was doing these home anniversaries, I was like, I'm taking that one out because I'm not ready for this conversation. But if they were to reach out, obviously we'd have that candid one. Libby, I'm going to just read it for the sake of the recording. Obviously, you guys can see it in the chat, but that's a great question. I actually don't think I've had one go down. I've had a few that have stayed the same and sent them. That gave me major anxiety, but I do think it's good for them to know and would probably prompt them to reach out. Ashley said she still does. All of my info is something that they can see themselves, but it allows a touch point and opens a conversation on how accurate it is. Awesome. Did that answer the other question you had, Nancy? Awesome. Okay. The other one you said was, is mailing a letter better than email? I'm going to open it up to you guys. I love getting something that's not a bill, so I love direct mail. But I'm curious what you guys think. I know I am just now getting ahead of my inbox. So if someone emails me something, I don't know if I'll see it, especially if it's to my personal email, but I'm curious if anyone else here wants to chime in to that real quick before I go to any of the other questions.
I think you have a better chance of them actually looking at it if you're sending it mail. If you email, it doesn't necessarily have the same effect.
That's true. I think also part of the magic of it all is knowing people know that if you are sending something by mail, you had to take time out of your own day to get that to them, whereas emails are so much faster. And I think that, people want to know that they were worth your time. And,
The other thing on mail, I just read this thing talking about doing direct mail and snail mail is back. People are so overwhelmed by email. But anyway, two of the points I took out of there, blue ink has a higher open rate than black ink on an envelope. And to avoid American flag stamps, to actually go to the post office and ask for the special stamps, because they tend to have a higher open rate as well.
Interesting.
I love that. I have a whole roll of American flag stamps that I just got. So I wish I had heard this the other week, but still good info. And Nancy's showing those are some cute ones. I love those.
And I was gonna chime onto that too. I also like the snail mail aspect. I think, every email has its purpose for certain things, and snail mail definitely has its purpose for things. I try to send out a monthly newsletter that I write every month, attempt to get that done. And so I'll do that via email. But these, home anniversary letters and things like that, I do think it's, like Kate said, something fun for them to just open and actually be like, oh, it is my home anniversary, and have a little bit of excitement versus, opening up another piece of junk mail. So.
And I think too, everybody that's shared so far has made them more personal than just another, I get all from my neighborhood, other realtors who are like, sell your home fast with me. And it's not personal. So I think if you take away the anxiety of making it really fancy, and you either just do a post-it or handwrite the values, I love all those ideas. Because I think if you send too much mail and it's not personal, then it kind of gets to be like email where they just kind of gloss over it. But if you make it somehow personal, or even I'll try and address the envelope, even if it's something that I've printed inside, I'll try and handwrite on the envelope or whatever. Because I think there is kind of a flip side to sending too much of the same mail that doesn't really have value, but everything that we've talked about has value.
Such a great point. Thanks for highlighting that. Fatima asked if we mostly send these out via KV Core. I think by now we've established the answer is no, we send them by mail, but just know that Bold Trail, what used to be KV Core, they do have a feature. If you're looking at a given client's profile, it's on the right-hand side, about halfway down. I don't remember what it's called offhand, but something about listing value. And you can just click it and you add their address and it will just send them an email once a month. So I've certainly done that for myself. I've also done it for a few clients that, they haven't asked to be receiving that type of information. And so if I feel like they're starting to heat up, then I'll just put their address on my profile so that I'm the one getting the email and I can just kind of stay ahead of what's being shown on the public platforms. I think that's about it. Marilyn asked, do you send out a home anniversary letter if you were on the listing side? Probably not, but you could always just send a little letter saying like, it's been a year since your big move or something like that.
And I have done that before, but it all just depends on, I don't think it's a bad idea necessarily to do that because not all agents are going to stay in contact with their clients. And so, you're the one who previously sold this home. When they go to sell, they know you're familiar with it. If their client or their agent hasn't kept in contact, that they may reach out. So, I have done it in the past. I don't think it's a bad idea to do. Do I do it all the time? No, but it's maybe a good idea.
Great idea. I took that as sending it to the client that you helped on the list side, but that's a great point, Ashley, talking about like sending it to the buyer, aka the new person at that address. That is a great touch point. Absolutely. I think we've hit all of the questions that were in the chat. I'd love to open it up. Are there any others that people have that you haven't voiced yet?
Can I just make
All
a
right, y'all.
the last thing that was just talked about? So I would say be careful there because that can bite you. I had someone, I sold a house and I had someone, I think from Allen Tate years ago, send postcards out saying that she sold the house and my phone was blowing up. Like, why is this agent saying that they sold the house? It was you that sold the house. I'm never using this agent. I don't trust them. Why are they doing this? So just be careful if there's a little overlap there. It doesn't look great to the consumer, in my opinion.
Really? Different opinions for sure. I think it also kind of depends on how much of a foothold you have in the neighborhood for sure. And I mean, they're also not wrong at the same time, right? Like they did kind of help sell it. I guess it also can start a conversation, but yeah, you want to be careful about it for sure. All right, y'all. I think that's about it. I think I got everything. Anyone else want to chime in? You're muted, Jane. You're still muted.
Okay, I was gonna say, sorry, my voice is gone. I think it depends who the buyer's agent is. So if you have a relationship with that agent, I absolutely would not send it because it doesn't look good to mail something that your friend or colleague has. So I think it just depends on the situation. Like a lot of things in real estate, it depends.
I totally agree with that, Jane. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Use the discernment. Anastasia said, could you repeat about the stamps again? Which specific stamps are better to use? Just not the ones that are the American flags, which are, getting it out takes precedence, right? But if we're going to be specific about it, then something that's a little more creative, something that's kind of one of the specialty stamps, which you can typically get at the post office. Cool. All right, you guys, thank you so much for starting your day with us. And thank you for all of the candid conversations. You guys know that I just feel so strongly that our community is so special in the way that you share. So thank you for always showing up and being open to collaboration. It means a lot to everyone's business. So have a great rest of your day. Reach out to me if you have questions. And to those of you that asked about the TAR report, I will get you answers. Talk to you soon.
Thank
Bye.
you.